Just looking back to last week, I asked Liam, but for both of you really, what do you have to do tomorrow that you didn't do last week, apart from the penalty?
Win, first of all. But in saying that, we're a week further ahead in our pre-season. We've done a lot of fitness work this week, and it's a whole different kettle of fish. I think tomorrow, it's going to be, instead of a new experience for us, I think it's a new experience for them. A full house here. Fantastic from the club to lower the prices, especially in the summer holiday, so kids can come and see their team play for the first time in Europe, and we will know what a big occasion it is, and we will make sure we get the victory that puts us through to the next round.
And Steve, overall, what do your team have to do to get that win tomorrow?
Well, we have to play at the tempo what we can play at. And last week, if we're being honest, the tempo of it, from us anyway particularly, was not friendly, but you know, it's been difficult, there's no doubt about that, because we're only 3 weeks into pre-season, and the only way of avoiding doing that was to have no real time off during the summer, which you have to give the players a rest and time for them to recuperate. So I'm hoping that we can, big full house, play at the tempo with the energy levels that we know we can play at, because they're certainly not used to that. So, and that's what the Premier League's all about. That's what makes it the spectacle it is. It's played at a pace where not many other countries or teams can play at, so that's got to be where we've got to be at.
Now, last week in Slovakia, I asked you after your substitutions whether you'd be tempted to use the new boys, and you said we'd have to wait and see. So we've waited and seen. So what are you going to do?
Well, you're still going to have to wait and see, because I think it would be unfair for me to tell the media before I tell anything about the players or the team or whatever. So we were working on a bit of stuff today, but I think it would be unwise of me to tell you. But as I've said to the players yesterday, we've got 20 outfield players training yesterday. You know, we've added to the squad. I think they all understand that we've got a long, tough season ahead if we qualify for Europe, and we've got to make provisions for that. So we've tried our best during the summer to improve the squad and make the squad better and bigger. And no doubt at all there'll be obviously disappointed people who want to play in the first game in Europe, but also I think they realise that there's a long season ahead.
Sure. And one for Liam, what have you noticed that the likes of Tom Ince and Robert Snodgrass has brought to the side just in the few weeks that they've been with you?
Yeah, obviously we knew before they came to the clubs, but played against Snods last season, and he was Norwich's standout player, and especially in the game at Carrow Road we had to change formation I think 3 or 4 times just to deal with his threat. So to see someone like that come in the building is a massive lift. I think it was the same kind of thing last season when the gaffer done so well to bring in Tom and Jake. Last season it gives everyone a lift, and it also lifts your levels yourself, because you want to be seen in the same light as those type of players. And as the gaffer said, we've got 20 outfield players now. It's a fantastic squad, and all of us want to play as many games as we can. At the same time, we've got to realise that it's a squad game, and if we're on the bench or not even in the squad, we support the first 11 and make sure we achieve what we can do this season.
I just wonder, Liam, if you're pinching yourself, because you came here when Hull City were a Championship side, now you've got the Premier League, you've got Europe, you played in an FA Cup final.
Yeah, I mean, obviously all credit to the owners, and the man sat next to me, he's done a fantastic job. When I came to the club, we were on the brink of, well, we were just outside the relegation zone in the Championship. It just goes to show what can be done with know-how, experience, and also ambition and belief that you can achieve these things. But in saying that, it's one thing doing well last season, having a great year, getting to a cup final. In my experience, in my career at Reading, they finished 8th in their first Premier League season and got relegated the next year. I think players took their eye off the ball, became complacent, and were too busy thinking of contracts and whatsoever, and not concentrating on the job in hand. And with the players that we've got here and the mentality we've got here, I'm sure that won't happen this season.
Last one from me, and ignore the fella to your right, but how are you adapting to this left-sided situation that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to play, so I'm enjoying playing. Obviously, I'm not left-footed, but I look at people like Philip Lahm, I watch videos of him, he's right-footed, he can play left, right side. The gaffer played with a great player, Dennis Irwin, as well, who can play both sides, and Phil Neville, it's been done before, and as long as I do my job, and I'm happy to play anywhere and just be in the team, as long as I'm helping him get results, and that's what's important.
Thank you very much.
Steve, do you think the last week have made a difference in terms of fitness-wise? Do you think
Oh, without question.
A couple of notches?
Without question, we've been able to put another week's work into them, and that's where it's slightly different. If it wasn't pre-season, you know, you'd be preparing for a game. it'd be all out preparation for the game. You know, for the cup final, for example, we worked all week on how we were going to play, but because we're in the middle of pre-season, really the only preparation work we want to do really is today, really, because most of all last week has been at fitness levels, because we have to be ready in 2 weeks' time for the start of the Premier League. So it has been a difficult one to manage. It's the first time I've ever experienced anything like this, but hopefully, well, I know for a fact we'll be downside better than we were a week ago. We needed the game out there to bring us up to a certain speed, and with the work we've done this week, I expect us to be much better.
As much as it's enjoyable, it's exciting now, I suppose, for you and the players as well. Is there a worry about the knock-on effect?
Well, I don't think we can worry about that. We understand how difficult it is. Make no illusion about that. It's going to be difficult. You just have to travel abroad on a Thursday, and then you understand airports, planes, getting back in the middle of the night, you know, to go and play again on a Sunday. And we've seen big clubs struggle with it. We've seen big clubs thrive with it and smaller clubs thrive. Birmingham, for example, you know, they're playing the Championship and had a wonderful ride in there. You know, Fulham a few years ago did particularly well with it. So it can be done. And I think the big thing from us as the club is, and we're all new to it, is let's go and enjoy playing in Europe. We've got a big full house tomorrow, which is going to be fantastic to see. Let's go and enjoy it, enjoy the trip, and make sure we stay in it.
I suppose a challenge for you as well. I mean, you've done it all in Europe as a player, but as a manager, a challenge and an enjoyable one.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing quite like playing in Europe, and if we do progress, and you go and pick out one of the really big clubs in Europe, it's one of the occasions that you remember in your career. You know, you pick out a Barcelona, or I know they're in the Champions League, but you pick out a big club in Europe, then you understand what playing football at the highest level is, because there's nothing better to pit yourself as a player, coach, manager, to go and see how other players and other teams play. And certainly when you do play in Europe, it is different.
Are you looking at this as, or maybe almost telling the players to look at it as almost like a prize for their efforts last season? Is that the way to look?
Well, it is a prize and it's a reward of how well they've done. But Liam's just touched on it there. You know, it's gone. Last year's gone. And in my experience with it, with all the clubs I've had, you know, especially the ones that you take up into the division, the hardest has always been the second year. The first year, everybody's running on adrenaline. The supporters are so excited about being in the Premier League. There's a huge euphoria about everybody and everything. And the one thing about it is there's no expectation. You know, your expectation levels are down here. Now all of a sudden, because of the season we've had, there's an expectation now there. Last year we were odds-on favourites to go straight back. We aren't this year. So let's hope the bookies are right, but there's a long season, and it's going to be a long, hard, tough season like it always will be for a club of our stature.